Good day, everyone. With the rise of scamming today, it is so important for us to be equipped and stay updated when it comes to cybersecurity tips and tricks. I know that this is something that's on every Filipino's mind because, to be honest, it's like every weekend there's a different scam that we have to watch out for. And so today, we're going to be talking about how you can stay educated and stay safe. My name is Siege Tantenko and I'll be your host for today. And right now, you're watching #FraudCheck, how to spot online scams, a roundtable discussion on cybersecurity and online banking protection. Joining me to talk about this very important topic, we have a panel of esteemed guests from the field of cybersecurity, banking, and telco.
I'm Joseph Felix Pacamar. I'm CEO, CSO of Cybersecurity Philippines, sir.
Hi, I'm Irish Almeida. I'm Globe's Chief Privacy Officer. I also head our Governance, Risk, and Compliance Division under our Information Security and Data Privacy Group.
Hi, Siege. I'm Gabby Tomas, Chief Risk Officer for RCBC.
Hello, and it's so nice to have you with us here today. I'm going to be honest with you. Last year, I got scammed. My credit card was charged 1,000 US dollars. I didn't know where the transaction really came from. I had to go through this whole process of having it reversed. Has this ever happened to you?
Yes, it has, sadly. I experienced exactly the same thing. There were multiple charges on my credit card for the same transaction. It was for 1,000 US dollars by the same merchant. I think there were around two to three, and there were further attempts to charge my credit card for the same amount. But I was able to call my bank to have the card blocked, and so it didn't go through anymore, the succeeding charges. So I think what I learned from that is we really have to be very vigilant. We have to inspect every transaction on our credit cards or online accounts because we don't know how these things happen. I never used my credit card in that merchant site, so I have no idea how they got hold of my credit card information.
Yeah, it seems like, everyone is at risk. And, I would assume someone like cybersecurity, people would be afraid to go after someone who works in cybersecurity. Do people still try to scam you, Joseph?
Well, it's not directly scam. It's more of like I had an incident a few years back when, well, you do gaming. Some people do gaming and transaction online. Mine was an instance of the gaming platform was compromised. So my credit card was attached to it. So along the way, it was, well, everybody was locked out, but our card's being used for something else. So that's beyond our control. So that's a scenario that we got involved in a few years back.
Oh, wow. I think a lot of people can relate to, gaming being a part of your everyday life, especially during the pandemic. Everyone was, that was our main form of entertainment, and that also puts us at risk. What about you, Gabby?
Well, my experience goes way back, maybe early 2000s. I remember I was in a hotel attending a boot camp training, and I get a call at about 6:30 in the morning, and he says, "Mr. Tomas, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm in bed." "Why are you still in bed?" And then I thought again, and I said, "Wait a minute, who's this?" And he hung up. And I think the takeaway there is that we were warned that you would get a call. People do try that. They'll try to take advantage of the early morning when you were not aware, try to sound like your boss, try to get you to do things, try to get you to follow before questioning. So I think that's a form of social engineering. We now call it phishing. Yeah, but I think that has been around. So I think people need to be aware of these things. That helps them.
Yeah. So scams have been here since forever, and they're gonna continue to go on. But scammers will just update their methods. So from phones to now digital, and right now we have a generation that is so native to digital technology. Everyone has an e-wallet. Everyone has their credit card links to whatever shopping platform that they use, and all of that. Is it true that the younger generation is more savvy when it comes to these things? Because some think, that's just a problem of my titas and my titos. I'm young, I got this. Is that true, Joseph?
Well, unfortunately, that's kind of a blurred line in there because most of the young one in the early adult ones, so they're inclined to gaming, they're inclined to social media, they're inclined to financial, financial sector. So transactions and whatnot, forex and cryptocurrency. So they have this chat group, circle of friends, that when one of them started pushing on links, malicious links, or even malicious application, they would trust them in the without question, because that's my friend, that's one respected guy in the society. Later they realize they got scammed along the way. They install something in their phone, or they click on something very bad because it was related to promo, gift checks, or any cheat codes or whatnot in the gaming industry. So they are, shall I say, a bit gullible, or sometimes, well, they're after financial gain. So that's where they become susceptible.
Yeah, so it's really not just the older generation. Every generation can be susceptible. So every generation should be careful and aware. And when it comes to this general public, I like to turn to the two of you. Do you think that our general public is being educated enough and being made aware enough when it comes to the dangers of sharing sensitive information online? What do you think?
I think there's a lot of effort being done. I think you see this in your advisories on SMS, even on the internet. In fact, I think there's some fatigue on the part of the customers now. They're seeing too many of these things that they tend to ignore that. That's the challenge. We have to keep on informing them, but we also have to keep on finding ways to creatively reach them, get their attention. There is so much more we need to do, and the fraud vectors are evolving, so we need to keep everyone updated as well.
Right. And while the banking sector is doing this, what is Globe up to? I've seen your public awareness campaigns. They're very well done. How's that going?
I actually agree with Gabby that there are a lot of efforts ongoing, and for our part at Globe, we've released a lot of advisories. We have a campaign called Make IT Safe, and we also have what we call our Digital Thumbprint program, which is all about educating the public about online safety. And I also agree that we really have to come up with creative ways to communicate this to the public, and that's why we thought of developing a children's book on data privacy, and it's entitled Safe Space, A Kid's Guide to Data Privacy. So it teaches kids about the importance of personal information and how they can protect it. So this is a really cool book for all your kids. I'm a mom myself, and my kids really love the book. It's super fun to interact with. It's free to download. It's up on our Globe e-library, so I highly encourage everyone to take a look at that book. And also, apart from that, I think the government is also doing their part. So just recently, in fact, just this May, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Privacy Commission and the other telcos with the primary goal of raising awareness about spam, scams, and all of these fraudulent activities that are rampant today. And the goal really is the protection of all of our customers. So I think there's still a lot more to be done, but we're getting there slowly with everyone's help.
It's great to know that the private sector is undertaking these. It's good to know that we have cybersecurity experts providing the education that we need. But at the same time, for us customers, our consumers, we have a really big role to play here as well. We need to take advantage of the campaigns and the advisories and everything. We need to engage, right? And so today, for everyone watching, this is your chance to learn something. Let's talk about the anatomy of an online scam. What are the red flags that we should look out for? Joseph?
Oh, for red flags, you need to look at a lot of factors, but let's narrow it down to a smaller part. One, the primary target for scams would be mobile users, right? So one, they send you a link. Well, I'm sure no banks usually send up the links, right? So first flag is links, then emails with attachment. Second is, links with something to download to, okay? So those three factors are the red flags. Now, most primarily, to avoid those red flags is people need to be aware of what their banking application look like, or what their banking website look like. If it has any deviation, changes or whatnot, drop it. Don't click on any link, just to be sure, and call the bank, inquire from them. Then for the part that some of them can still go through it, make sure they have a security application in their phones. Anything that would flag anything bad to download, malicious software, or bad URLs or malicious URLs.
Right. So if there's a text with a link, do not click.
Do not
That's the
click.
first
Absolutely.
thing, right? And then if you're gonna be doing your banking, only use the official app
Yes.
of your bank. And if you're on the website, if you see something a bit wonky and pixelated with the logos, red flag, get out of there, right? There are so many, of these scams these days, and I think as a user, I am feeling the fatigue that you mentioned earlier. We went through a period earlier this year where I just wasn't opening my inbox at all. And I told people, if you want to reach me for work, you have to email me because I can't anymore with my inbox. But right now, SIM registration is on the way. It's happening. There's an extension, there's a 90-day extension. How will this help us be more safe when it comes to, the scammers? And how will it help the authorities catch criminals?
Well, with SIM card registration, the scammers and the fraudsters, they can no longer hide behind the veil of anonymity because now they have to register their SIM cards by providing their personal information. So they have to provide their name, their address, their sex, their date of birth, as well as government-issued IDs. Because before they could activate their SIMs or use their SIMs, so if they don't register, then they can't use their SIMs. And we all know that they can be very creative, very persistent in their ways, but at least with SIM card registration, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to scam others, to commit all of these fraudulent activities, because now there's that registration requirement, and it's going to be easier for the government to identify the people who are behind these scams.
Right. And so the government is doing their best. They're trying. The government is trying to deal with this. At the same time, as consumers, I think one of the things that has changed for this generation is when I was a child, my parents gave me my first passbook and they told me, we have to keep this in a safe place. So every time I needed my passbook, I would have to go to the family safe and I would have to turn the combination lock, right? 99 to the left, 99 to the right, all of these things. It was so private. But right now, for this generation, our information is being shared publicly. We put our QR codes everywhere, right? During the pandemic, when we were, being giving and helping each other, we were sharing our QR codes so freely. But where is the limit on what information we should share? What is the new etiquette and the new rules for this?
I think it's very good that you shared that story. The old generation knew how to value that asset, that passbook, the money in the wallet, the safe. Those are traditional safeguards. I think someone now has to teach the new generation how to safeguard the digital identity, the digital access points, the digital assets. And to that point, I do agree with Attorney Irish about the safe book for kids. That's one way to get kids early educated on how to value their digital assets. I mean, our generation, we are actually doing trial and error with the digital space. And we will learn from this, and soon we will have kids, and we will teach our kids about how to value this. That conversation you've had with your parents, that you will have with your kids about the digital assets in the future.
Yeah.
I think that's something we need to be aware of early on. That will help us protect us.
That's true. And so right now, SMS, OTPs, is that, that's where we draw the line?
Yes, actually, there are so many things we need to be aware of. What type of information gives access to our identity? But for financial transactions, I think the last line of defense is really the OTP. No matter what the industry does, no matter what the telcos do, the banks do, if the customer will give that last access piece to the fraudster, they will now have access to change your credentials, change your access to do transactions on your behalf. So I think we need to hammer in the importance of those particular critical access pieces of information that you should under no circumstances give to anyone else.
Under no circumstances. And, Attorney Irish, I know that you have this memorandum of understanding, which is helping push this further even more. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so since the pandemic in 2020, we've been working very closely with the banks. We've had 24/7 group chats with most commercial banks and online retailers because we found that this is the most effective way for us to communicate, to report incidents real time, and to conduct investigations jointly. And so we formalize that collaboration through a memorandum of understanding that we signed between Globe and the Bankers Association of the Philippines, and then later between Globe and RCBC. So the intent really is to facilitate fraud investigations with the ultimate goal of prosecuting these cyber criminals. Because it's very, very difficult to identify who the cyber criminals are because they move very fast. So it really takes a lot of coordination and collaboration within the private sector between the banks and the telcos. So I think this is very critical and it's a very important step in the right direction.
I love that you mentioned that there is this collaboration, there is this partnership. If I may ask, what are traditional banks also doing to help educate their customers further?
Well, I think one of the things that we mentioned collaboration. We need to be aware that the way fraudulent proceeds move is very, very fast. They move through the system, through the network, through multiple banks, even through the telco, until they go out. I think one of the key things that we've done is come together and think about ways how we can ring fence, secure the perimeter, if you will, communicate. If we can still catch the proceeds while they're in transit, the best. That's the best. At the very least, we can trace, maybe get some identities, some pointers to where these fraudsters are. I think that's a big step that the industry has taken. But also, we also have to continually inform our clients that the moment they see something off, they need to let us know immediately so that we can act. If we all act quickly, then I think we can be able to prevent most of these things.
Yeah. So the ideal collaboration really includes the consumer,
Yes.
The ordinary, everyday Filipino. We have a part to play in this, right? We got to get in the mindset, right, of how we can take charge of our own cybersecurity and treat cybersecurity like a shared responsibility. So to all three of you, what is the mindset that we need to develop so that we can take on this shared responsibility?
Well, the mindset we need to have is we need to accept the idea that digital financial safety is everyone's responsibility. So parents should tell kids what to do, just like I mentioned a while ago how your parents told you. Now, in return, some of the parents are not much onto digital asset, pretty much landscape, right? So the kids of this generation should teach their parents as well. That goes on up until to the community part. Now, the mindset part is trust no one. Simple as that. Well, as a practice, most of the cybersecurity professionals in the Philippines, they don't post their pictures online. They hardly give you their own numbers. Even their calling card, they won't. Now, if that would be the case for cybersecurity professionals, maybe the entire civilian population or the community should practice one as well. So, because it limits the attack surface, the vulnerability part. So that limits most of the opportunity of the attackers to exploit you.
So be careful about who you share your information with. Don't be so easy to give it out.
Yeah.
What about you?
I agree. We have to be very vigilant nowadays. I mean, it's not good to be paranoid all the time, but when it comes to cybersecurity, I think it's a good approach. We shouldn't trust very easily because, again, scammers are all around us. When we're in doubt, always reach out to someone you trust, someone you know and trust. If not, you can also reach out to your telcos or your banks to verify the information that you receive. It's better to check multiple times rather than to fall victim to these types of scams and other fraudulent activities. So again, I think vigilance is really the key. Be attentive to the messages that you receive. Be able to develop that discernment when it comes to looking at messages. Know what's legitimate from what's fraudulent. And I think it's also important that we share the knowledge that we have with others, so that way we get to protect all those around us as well.
I think I echo the points raised, from knowing the value of your digital assets to being always aware of what's important to you. I think on top of that, you need to be informed about what the latest is. In this case, I think this is where being a Marites and a Tolits really helps you, knowing what the latest things that are happening are. A healthy dose of paranoia will go a long, long way, right? And Also to have a way to verify. Have your own independent way to contact your bank, who you can call to ask if this is legit, is this a real message? So being paranoid and being a marites in authorities, I think that goes a long, long way.
So, be a mabuting marites. A marites who uses that, uy, alam mo ba ang cybersecurity? You know, like bring in the people in your community around, bring them in, bring in the senior citizens, you know, the younger generation, and let's, you know, make this a shared responsibility. You know, while scamming is certainly, you know, a problem that we all face, this also means that we can all be part of the solution. Do we have any parting words for our audience today? Perhaps leave them with something, you know, something that inspires them to take the first step in their cybersecurity journey today.
Well, being the paranoid bunch from this group. Well, anything that's out of place, call the bank. Never, what you call it? Never second guess yourself if you're in doubt. Call the bank automatically. If something is out of place, anything that's odd, or anything, if you just got gut feeling, trust it. Call the bank, shut down everything.
If
That's
something
just
feels
immediate action. It won't trouble the bank if you, hey, cancel every account, every transaction that they have. Because you can actually open it up. Because you don't know your account. Other than that, well, that's where you're safe.
awesome.
Maybe I'll just reiterate what I said earlier, that awareness and education is really key to this. The government, the private sector, they're doing their part, but the customers also have to do their part to really keep themselves informed and educated about what's happening and share that knowledge with others. I think really if we work together, that's the only way that we're going to win this fight against cybercrime. We can't do this alone. So I really urge everyone to educate everyone around you, your mom and dad, your titas and titas. Tell them not to click on that link, not to share that link on their social media pages, and not to answer calls from strangers. It's better to be safe than sorry. It's better to check 1,000 times than to be a victim to these scams.
Yeah.
Well, on top of everything that's been said, I think one of the stigmas of being victimized is that nahihiya ka. I think we need to break out of that. If something had happened to you, I think you need to pay it forward and share that so that less people will become victims as well. I think on top of all the safeguards, let's be more open to sharing our experience. That will really help everyone. Like you said, it's everyone's problem. Therefore, we have to be part of the solution.
So I can't think of a better way to end this talk that we've had. You know, that is the perfect reminder. We are all part of the solution. So to you watching at home, that includes you. So after this, I want you to take one step to be more safe. That can be talking to your parents about it, talk to your kids about it, or be brave and share a story on social media about how you got scammed so that other Filipinos can learn from your example. Again, thank you so much for watching #FraudCheck and stay safe.